Yeah, I mean, I think I was catalyzed, propelled into the space by the crisis of 2020, the pandemic. And March of 2020, I think everybody started questioning a lot of values. And I think my conclusion is conventional treasury strategy is broken. There's no point in making money anymore if you're going to keep it. And so the idea of cash being trash was something that was drummed into my head March of 2020 when I realized I had $500 million of cash and it was going to be deemed worthless it was already deemed worthless by the investing public. At one point, our stock in essence traded at 50% more than the cash level that we had in the balance sheet. So the conclusion was it was hopeless. Like when I concluded that saving in cash was hopeless, right? You have nothing to lose. So, this has become mainstream view now, right? I mean, Dalio says cash is trash. I think people are saying the 60-40 bond portfolio, equity bond allocation is a broken model. Inflation is here. Hyperinflation is the rest of the world. It's not going away. The Federal Reserve said there is no inflation and interest rates will be zero forever. And now the Federal Reserve says, well, if we could just keep inflation from increasing beyond 8% forever, we'll declare victory. So that was an impetus. When you're trying something and it's not working for year after year after year after year, and you're facing a mortality event, it's either a slow death or a fast death, or do something. Then you have to do something, or you got to sell yourself, right? Or just commit economic suicide. So that's why we did what we did. I think my background in technology is digital transformation, and I watched how the digital transformation of music or maps or documents or relationships or communications created Amazon and Apple and Google and Facebook and trillion-dollar entities. And it was pretty clear to me that if you can digitally transform something, it wouldn't be just as good as the thing that you had. It would be 100 times better, maybe 1,000 times better. And that's pretty obvious today that, who remembers Kodak? What's Kodak's market cap? What is Xerox's market cap?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Companies like, the document companies, the photo companies, Instagram, Facebook, all of these companies have just outstripped their 20th century analogs.
Yeah.
So people figured that out in 2020, but the paradigm shift is when you're in the business, you can't contemplate the digital transformation obsoleting you, or it's such a horrifying thought that you don't want to embrace it. That's the paradigm shift.
And like you said, in a lot of those cases, right, where you had these 100x better products, they were both 100x better products, and they completely transformed the unit economics and even the fundamental pricing models of those products. Like we have ubiquitous free communications that we're not paying a per minute charge, right? That's just one example. Or we have infinite storage and transmission of photos. We don't pay for film or go pay someone to process it or have storage that we have to worry about, right? So the fundamental kind of unit economics shift as well. And I think that gets in the way too of incumbents, obviously, right? They're like, well, they have a business that has a structure and a market structure and a pricing structure and unit economics, and it's just hard to get out of the way of that.
Yeah, can you go from digitizing the Rand McNally Atlas to self-driving cars? Because the implication was the map is going to plug into your car and drive you where you want to go. And maybe even the map is going to tell you, don't go there, it's closed, and people hate it. Right. And that's what makes Google a $1 trillion company. And that's why Rand McNally, is not with us, right? I mean, So if you understand that, then I guess March 2020, the first thing that happened was getting slugged in the head with a 2x4. You're failing, your money's going to zero. And the second observation was, oh my, there's actually been a digital transformation of property, currency, and energy. And I didn't quite appreciate just how profound it was. I just knew I needed a solution. So I started looking for a digital gold, right? I wanted a non-sovereign store of value asset. So it really legitimate. It literally was a question of, do I buy $500 million worth of gold? Or in this case, it was $250 million of gold. Or do I buy $250 million of crypto gold?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's crypto gold, well, I think engineered synthetic gold is better than gold. And now I just had to parse through all of the hundreds of options to conclude that Bitcoin was synthetic gold. And that was enough to solve my problem in the near term, which, how do you got a mortality situation. You actually have to find synthetic gold. I find it. And that was Bitcoin. Now, what happened next was the exploding appreciation that there is a profound demand for two things in this world. One thing is digital property. And I classify Bitcoin as digital property, not just gold, right? Gold is the start, but if you go beyond gold and say a non-sovereign store of value, you might as well convert a second investment home. You're going to Airbnb, and you might as well convert land and buildings and any other store of value asset.
So cryptographic tokenized forms of assets. Yeah.
So that's the first observation. And the second observation is there's a profound demand for digital currency. And that's your business. There are 8 billion people on the planet. And in the near term, they want a high velocity money, we'll call currency, a medium of exchange they can use to pay for things day by day, tax-free in a compliant fashion, so that 8 billion people can trade with 100 million companies cross borders using a computer. So that's a need. And then the other need is those 8 billion people, if you look out more than 4 years, if you've got money you want to store for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 40 years, a lifetime, they want property. And buying a building in Africa, buying a bar of gold, buying a security, it's either not practical, it's not safe, or it's not efficient, right? When you buy property, you have to buy scarce desirable property with a low maintenance cost, that's portable, that has no counterparty risk. And so what you have is a real huge demand for digital currency and digital property. And once you understand that, then you realize that this is the digital transformation of currency property. And of course, I'm an engineer, so I see if it's a conservative thing, it's energy. So it's digital energy. And we never had in the first wave, in the mobile wave, we never had digital energy, digital property, digital currency. And it's such a profound paradigm shift that everybody in the world using this stuff can't imagine what it means to be digitally transformed. So you've got this little turbulent shockwave where some people immediately get it, right? Some people got it 10 years ago. You got in the business early. Some people get it when they have a war, right? Wars cause you to get it. The war in Ukraine, the Russian sanctions, the pandemic, the war on COVID, the war on fill in the blank, right? Finally, that caused you to get it. And then there are people that will watch it